Ladies and gentlemen, we are very pleased to have you all with us today. And I wanted to thank Michael Klaus, chairman of the Institute für Bank- und Finanzgeschichte, to thank you, to thank Dr. Rainer Klump, director of the Center for Financial Studies and executive director of the House of Finance. I would like to thank Christophe Braue, a good friend of me, who has had always a big role to lead the Deutsch-Französische Gesellschaft, und besonders Anna Flotto-Degener, die eine very, very important role played hat. For me, it's a great honor, and for all of us, it's a great honor to have you all. You know, there is a passion, Vernunft und Leidenschaft für diese deutsch-französische Freundschaft. We are very happy that the French and the Germans are speaking together, and we have to seize every opportunity on every kind of levels to have the French and the Germans talking together. Hopefully, we think, thank you. Hopefully, we think that the time is coming. You know, crises are creating many opportunities, and maybe the timing, which is this timing is very unsecure, with difficult to forecast anything. But what we can say is we have the feeling that the German Chancellor and the French President are in a very good shape, a very good position to speak even more together and to make important decisions for the relationship between France and Germany, and mainly for Europe. We all of us know that when the French and the Germans are able to find an agreement, which is not always easy, then most of the time, countries from the north realize, oh, the Germans have been able to find a deal with the French. Then we could follow them. And the same thing from the countries from the south of Europe. So it's absolutely key. Maybe a few words about ourselves and myself. So I represent the fifth generation in a business. Because we are speaking about history, I'm not going to be too long, but at least my family is coming from Marseille, from south of France. And we used to be agent change. It was in 1849, and at that time, Marseille was very active, dealing a lot with many parts of the world, not only Maghreb, not only sub-Saharan Africa, but also Asia, China, Indochina, and Marseille had a key role with a new train between Marseille, Paris, and Lyon, and Paris and Lyon, yes, and the Rhône. So, I mean, Marseille was growing a lot, and my grandfather became agent change, and there were many things to do at that time, issuing securities and financing many things during the Industrial Revolution. And then my father decided to leave Marseille after the Second World War because Marseille was unfortunately not very active anymore for many reasons. I'm not going to come back to that. But then he decided to go to Paris, and they had the great honor to succeed to him in 1987. 1987, I became an agent change, so in a very traditional way, and to go and make a big speech with two godfathers. And the big syndic had to make a speech, and he told me, I was very young, 28 years old, so by far the youngest agent change, and he told me, you are young, but it's a very dangerous business, and you have to realize that. And then, in fact, I realized that he didn't want to talk to me, but to rest of his colleagues, because you remember they were all reliable on their own personal assets, and combined all together, and the Compagnie des Agents Change was bankrupt 2 months after. So that was the end, and that was the end of the agent change, and that we had to invent ourselves. So we decided to invest in research, in financial analysis and in IT. And then we decided to make a build-up. And we bought many competitors until the time we decided to invest in Germany. In Germany, why? Because if you want to understand Europe, Eurozone, you have to know the two countries. And because our focus was on family-owned companies, and we decided to invest in Germany. And we have fought it. It was not easy, but we have been able to buy BHF Bank. BHF Bank is a great bank with a great history. You know that it's coming from two banks, Frankfurt Bank, who used to be a central bank, was not a central bank anymore after the gold mark in 1871 or 1872, something like that. And then they had to change their business model, and they went to maybe more specialized in Wertpapiergeschäft, I would say. And then Berliner Gesellschaft, a great bank, very active bank, had played a key role for the industry and the industrial revolution in Germany, and they merged together in 1970. And this bank became a bit, the bank where a lot of talented were there, the Kaderschmiede. And then was it possible for an old agent change merging with two banks like that? And what I can say, yes. Why? Because the main focus was already at that time to get the best people, to keep them, and working together. It was not a bank with a big balance sheet, but a bank with a Dienstleistung, service provider, to try to attract the best people, to keep them, to have them working together, and then to provide service in the wealth management, in the asset management, and corporate investment banking. I see I have to not to spend too much of your time on this topic, but to make the story short. Today we are 3,000 people. We have 10 years of experience working together between the French and the German. And I can say, when we understand the culture of the other one, we have to respect and to have interest. And then there are many, many opportunities to smile together because we understand the culture of the other one. But when we are able to work together, I am very proud about what the teams between the French and the Germans are able to do together. And we are really a Franco-German team with French and Germans at all levels of the banks. We have responsibility for the whole group, and now not only France, Germany, but also Switzerland. Maybe a last word about history. How important is history? I think I would like to take Zukunft braucht Herkunft. And maybe I would like to think about two persons. And I would like to share a very strong impression I had with Henry Kissinger. He was 100 years old. And it happened to him nearly by chance to have an interest of artificial intelligence. And very quickly, he realized how important artificial intelligence will play a role, a key role in the future, not only on the economical point of view, but on a political point of view. And I would like to think about the second one, who is much younger, Giuliano da Empoli, who is very well known in France. I am sure he's going to be well known in Germany too. He has published a book about the Wizard of the Kremlin, and more recently, The Hour of the Predator. And he's probably the European who has a clearest view I've ever seen about the situation. The European view about what is happening, and mainly with the big tech company and the way they are taking the power of the world. And I invite you to read him, and he has been inspired by the history of his country, Italy, from the 16th century. What I would like to say, I am convinced that it is very important to know the history, to know and to understand the history, to take advantage of the fact to know, and then if you know the history, you know you understand the banking industry through those years, you are in a much better position to probably to prepare ourselves to know what is going to happen to make the right decision in the future. So we think it's a great opportunity for all of us to spend time together about the banking history, to know better the banking history, to understand better the banking history between France and Germany, to be all of us in a better position to take the right decisions in the future. Thank you very much for your attention. And I leave the floor.
Cher Monsieur ODDO, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much for your kind introductions. Dear speakers and audience of today's symposium, let me welcome you to our event also on behalf of the Institute of Banking and Financial History, IBF, the non-profit association for financial history research and knowledge transfer established in Frankfurt since 1969. Mr. ODDO, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks for providing such a generous setting for the symposium on your premises. It is beautiful here. Thank you. I would also like to thank our long-standing partners, the Center of Financial Studies and the House of Finance, and for the first time, the Deutsch-Französische Gesellschaft, Frankfurt am Main, for jointly organizing the event. The topic we are addressing today, the comparison between the German and French banking markets, their historical relationship and future opportunities and challenges within the framework of the European Capital Markets Union, has long been of academic interest to us. However, in light of recent geopolitical and global economic developments, there's also a clear political impetus, shedding light on similarities and differences between the financial markets of both countries and their respective historical roots should help us to overcome the obstacles that still hinder a deeper integration of banking markets in favor of financing a strong European economy. Such integration is a prerequisite for addressing current challenges, above all those related to European security and reaching sustainability goals. Today's event is too brief to cover all aspects of this topic, which has recently become the subject of an even more intense research in both France and Germany. I am therefore all the more grateful to our speakers that have agreed to outline key elements of the topic. I also hope that this symposium will serve as an impetus to continue and deepen the dialogue between renowned scholars in financial history and financial research from both countries, a dialogue for which the IBF will continue to provide a platform. In the longue durée, that is, in the last 150 years or so, the consistently great mutual importance of the two countries as trading partners was not reflected to the same extent in the integration of their financial markets. This is the case despite notable examples of cross-border mergers and joint business activities involving financial institutions from both sides. There are also prominent examples of mutual influence on the development of the two countries' banking systems. For example, in the 19th century, the role of the Pereira brothers and the Crédit Mobilier in the emergence of German joint stock banks. the influence of the Raiffeisen movement on the development of credit cooperatives in France, or more recently, the orientation towards the German development bank system. Can we identify the reasons that have so far hindered a deeper integration of our financial systems? And were they tied to political and economic conditions that may in fact now be obsolete? What steps must we take to eliminate those existing obstacles? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm confident that the long-term historical perspective will provide a stimulating foundation for today's discussions. I am also optimistic that both countries will continue to jointly seize and advance opportunities for the benefit of a strong Europe while preserving the competitive nature of market economies. I wish you all an engaging and inspiring exchange. Thank you very much. And with that, I'll turn over to Rainer Klump. Thank you.
Ja, warm welcome also from my side. Un herzliches Willkommen auch von meiner Seite. Mais pour commencer, je tiens vraiment à remercier Philippe ODDO et la banque ODDO BHF pour l'hospitalité de cet après-midi qui nous a donné l'opportunité d'organiser un colloque, une conférence sur une perspective comparée des systèmes bancaires français et allemands dans une banque qui travaille dans les deux pays, ce que je trouve vraiment fantastique. Merci beaucoup. I would like to continue now in English as we agreed. I have the great pleasure to welcome you here in several functions as the director of the Center for Financial Studies, as the director of the Frankfurt House of Finance, that is a place where we like to initiate the intensive dialogue between the local banking industry and the academic life on our campus of Goethe University. I take also the opportunity to welcome you on behalf of the Deutsch-Französische Gesellschaft, even if the president, Christoph Brauet, is already with us. And I would like to point out that Christoph Brauet, who has already been mentioned by Philippe ODDO, has not long ago published a book on the German-French interactions with a very nice title, Deutschland und Frankreich schaffen es. I think that came out in a time when not so many people were really thinking that Germany and France could work together as intensively as we would like them to do. But I think, as Christoph comes also from the banking industry, from economics, he had the feeling that on the level of economics, maybe things are and were working much better without a lot of noise, and much better than in politics or in other areas of life. Which brings me to Philippe ODDO again, because in my feeling, Philippe ODDO has always been, or the enthusiasm that Philippe ODDO has brought into the German-French relationship has always been really adorable. I can say that I have experienced that very closely when I had invited him last year to a meeting at Université Paris-Dauphine, a meeting with students who were studying in the German-French study programs, and I could feel that the enthusiasm that you brought into the conference room, that also spread to the student community. So, in my feeling, the economic level, the financial area is really something where we should expect and can expect more progress also for the years to come, We will look in this conference, we would also look and discuss the perspectives, but first we start with a look back into the history of the banking systems of the two countries. And I have now the honor to introduce our first speaker, who is Clemens Joost. Where is he? There he comes. Esteemed colleague from University of Vienna, where he held the chair of economic and social history. He has, I wouldn't say French background, but he has links to France because he has a doctorate from Sciences Po Paris for 2007, and he's a very well-known expert in the history of European banking systems, if I may say so, also in a comparative way, and he will tell us about the evolution of the national banking systems in Germany and France in the 19th century and the early 20th century. Clemens, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.